What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective. I can't tell you guys how thrilled I am about today's podcast. For one, I've taken some time off. If you guys can see the background, we got a new studio, made some upgrades. I'm super stoked about that. So that's one big thing. The other thing is, you guys, look at the shirt, look at the gear, look at the merch, the Black Sheep Apparel. Make sure you guys go to blacksheepapparel.shop if you want to rock the gear. Today, special guest, very special guest. One guest brought me to another, and it's all for all the best things you can imagine coming from a great heart. I have Joe Carrillo with me, better said Joe Carrillo for my Latinos out there, and I have Yanet Leal. Yanet has a very, very intriguing story, one full of an emotional roller coaster. It's really not over yet. Yanet, before anything, I want to tell you thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your story. Your story's been nationwide right now. It's been all over the news, especially here in Florida, especially here in Miami. You've gotten a lot of support. I'm not too sure if you've also gotten some bad feedback. I know there's always both sides to that, and we will discuss that. But your story is a huge one. It's something that's very common. It's happening a lot nowadays, unfortunately. It involves your son, your 5-year-old son, right, if I'm not mistaken? 6. Oh, that's right. He just turned 6.
In August, yeah.
Bless his heart, okay. And you... through your situation is how you met Joe. I met Joe through an amazing person who is his daughter, Allie. Big shout out to Alessandra Allie. Allie put me on to her dad, which is Joe, because I saw she posted you. She posted you on Instagram, Joe, and she posted I think it was a clip. You had just did an interview out of the thousands of interviews that you've done, and it was just another interview of something that you did that was great. I went to the interview, I saw the interview, and I'm like, holy shit, what is this man doing? This is great. Hold on, what is he doing? Is he saving children? What's going on here? So I really wanted to get to know, what it is that you do, because this podcast, it goes in every which directions. It's about who really gets my interest for all the right reasons. It's not, I don't want to just talk to people about bullshit. And you do amazing things, brother. So before we get to Yanet, we're going to figure out how this happened. Joe, tell us a little bit about exactly what it is you do. I can say it, but I'm going to totally mess it up. I'd rather you say it in nice little details. You are a private investigator. You've been doing this for quite some time. We definitely want the backdrop on that. And that private investigation eventually led to searching for missing children. And soon enough, we'll get the time backdrop on that. You eventually started a nonprofit organization to bring these children home. Walk us through that. Where did this private eye career start? And tell us how it eventually built into this, amazing thing that you do, which is bring children. By the way, you've brought how many home already?
Hundreds. I don't count.
Okay.
I bring one at a time, but other people say it nears 1,000, but I really don't know.
Okay.
But hundreds for sure.
So what got you started with that, Joe? Where did the PI work come from? And walk us through it.
Well, after I got out of my 7th rehab, I've been a recovering addict for 39 years now. Been sober. I got into the repossession business. Got real good at finding people. Became a private investigator and an intern in 1986. Got my full license in 88 and basically spent many years looking for people to take away their cars. But looking for people is looking for people.
Right.
So in 2005, I was bodyguarding a politician in Hialeah, and I was really bored. I was in a hair studio with ladies with blue hair, the 3rd generation, and I see this advertisement in a paper or a notice that this girl had gone missing, and on my birthday, which was in June, and I'm in September. This girl went missing 4 months ago, and she's still missing. $5,000 reward. So I called the parents that night, and I said, I want to help you find your kid. And by the way, I don't want your money, because the money felt like, where I saw the advertisement, the notice was where my colleagues, fellow PIs, advertised. And when I saw it, the thought was, why aren't any of these people helping this person who's obviously advertising there for help? And what I found out is a lot of them wanted more money than $5,000 to even start looking. So when I went to see the family, I said, I don't want the money. And 9 days later, we found it was a complicated case. The girl was brought home by us, and I found my new addiction. So I began to search for people who had missing kids and go and say, I'll help you find your kid. And I never charged anybody anything, because most of the people wouldn't be able to afford me. I've had people get off Learjets to come and see me. I still haven't charged them anything, and they haven't paid. So it just felt wrong. So I would search for people, and then one turned into two, and two turned into three, and I did that for 9 years between me and the parents. And it was a very good feeling when you meet somebody like Janet, who's dead inside when you meet her because her child is missing, and then you bring that life back. There's nothing like it in the world. Like I said, I found my new addiction.
And you balance it out while still doing regular PI work.
Oh yeah, I had to make a living. This I did on my spare time, which I had none. I got really good at it. Every case is not like Janet's, which Janet's was an orchestrated, conspiratorial kidnapping. And it was a manhunt. It wasn't a search for a child. It was a manhunt for a criminal. So most cases aren't like that. Most cases that I have are, runaways. But in law enforcement don't look for runaways. So I saw a need, and all I was doing was filling that hole. So one day I found this girl. Actually, my success is convincing the person that's missing that it's okay to come back. And whatever issue you have, and these are kids you're talking to, whatever issue you have, we'll deal with it. And if the issue is not with you, but with folks around you, we'll help you deal with the folks around you. So that scenario is not offered anywhere by law enforcement, by nobody. So that's what we do. So
let me interrupt real quick. Why is it that law enforcement doesn't have a branch for that? I mean, that you have your homicide detectives, you have your, multiple branches. Is there nothing, or is it too small and not enough force behind it?
There is a special victims unit who was involved in Janet's case, which was different, but because most of the kids who are runaways, there's no crime committed. And when there's no crime committed,
right, police
can't get involved. So their hands are really tied. So there's a window there that we fill. So 2014, I've got a girl who knew somebody in Telemundo approached me and asked if they could do a 4-part series on what I do. It was me. So I came up with the idea. I go, if an international station is going to invest this, and it was very well done. It aired over 4 weeks, and I got calls from all over the world. So I said, let me build something with a name, because maybe I can use this as a springboard to help more people.
Right.
And it was me and one other person here in Miami doing this. So yeah, we named Bringing Them Home Project. It wasn't a nonprofit. We hit Telemundo, of course. We got a lot more work for me to do free with the little time that I don't have. But I've met incredible colleagues through the entire country, mostly through the media cases we've solved. And today we're an organization. In 2019, I was approached by some people doing a television project on my life and some of the work that I've done, and they said, "Listen, you need to become a nonprofit, because once this goes, our community is going to want to
support you.
Of
course."
So they put me to work in 2019. I said, "I don't want to do that. I want to drive my grandkids to school."
Right.
Help somebody when they call me. And so we've managed to build in the last 3 years a really good organization. We're a nonprofit. We've gotten donations. Janet gave us a very nice donation at the end, but
that's awesome.
But we're just starting as a nonprofit.
So Bringing Them Home Project.
Right.
That's the name of the organization, right?
Bringing Them Home Project.
Bringing Them Home Project. We'll be saying that throughout the whole podcast. So, Janet, okay, your situation, very touchy. I'm still learning about it. I still don't know all the details, and main reason is because I tend not to watch the news. I never watch the news. The only time I get a news update is if somebody throws it on Instagram, pretty much. Maybe not even TikTok, just Instagram, because I got all these local friends. But I don't watch the news because it's just so full of negativity, and I just don't care to be, have negativity floating in my head. I already know that the world's fucked up and there's all kind of bullshit going on. But here we are. So, if you can, walk us through exactly what happened, to the best of your ability, so that everybody listening can hear. I know a lot of people know your story. You've been all over the news, But a lot of these interviews go quick, fast, in a hurry. They direct these questions to you. I don't know that you've had the ability to just comfortably say it all. How did this happen, and what exactly happened before Joe got involved?
Well, the problem has started when we got divorced. We never agreed on anything. I was what people call it too nice. And I wanted my father's dad, very involved in his life because my dad was a very important part of my life.
Okay.
And I wanted the same for my son. But this person became more obsessive than anything else with controlling us. And because he had no control over us, then he turned to religion in a very sick way.
Was it a 50-50 or was it a...
I advocated for a 50-50.
Okay. And was this 3.5 days, or is this a different...
It was 3-4-4-3.
Okay.
Yeah. Then it turned into a battle. And him and his mom came up to me and told me she was going to show me what a divorce was, that she will make sure that I pay for divorcing her son. And it turned into a battle, and a battle that I didn't want it. We went to court so many times. And already by the end of last year, so about a year from now, actually a little bit longer than that, somebody warned me from a friend of a friend who heard a comment from a friend that he was talking about living off the grid, selling the house and taking the cash to live off the grid. I became very paranoid. I started calling kidnapping prevention offices, and I was like, what do I do for this not to happen? I filled out some applications to basically get notified right away if my son gets a passport. And I put him on a list of not getting a passport. So that was all I could do. But at the same time that I kept checking, and he hadn't sold his house. So I was still at peace because he hadn't sold the house. Later on, my son is autistic, and they're very into routines, into doing the same thing every day. And then he started becoming home a little bit more aggressive. He didn't want to go back to his dad, and he was giving a very hard time. So I realized something is not right here, and then something clicked in my brain. I call a friend of mine who's a realtor, and I'm like, hey, can you check this house for me and see it has been sold? And that was on November last year. He calls me screaming, oh my God, he sold the house. And then I find out that he was living with my son in a hotel for 2 weeks without telling anybody. And every time that we went to pick up my son, he came out of his house like if he lived there when he wasn't. That was very...
suspicious. I mean,
extremely. I went to court on emergency motion begging them. I told them I have a bad feeling that he's gonna take my son. Please help me. So they took his overnights away. He didn't have any overnight rights, and that's how he stayed. My son was a lot calmer after that. And I'm one of those person who doesn't talk about the other parent, especially bad.
Right. You don't want your kid to get
at all. And I've seen parents do it, and it's just detrimental.
Yeah.
My mom and my dad never did that to me. My mom
happens way too often though, especially when somebody's mad at the other.
It's too much. And I remember my mom and my dad, they didn't like each other, but they never even spoke about each other in front of me.
Okay.
Never did. And I learned from that. So he was more perceptive to spend more time with his dad now that he knew that he would come home to us every night.
Okay.
So that really helped. Everything calmed down for a little bit. Later on, it was, I think, August. And it's funny because autism, but my son has like a sixth sense. And I even have a video of him saying that some bad people were going to take him away from me.
Wow.
And that was over a year ago. Way before this happened. And I'll send you the video so you can have it. It was
obviously that built the paranoid.
Very cryptic. It was very cryptic. Extremely. He said in these words, bad people are going to take me away from mommy, but it's okay because mommy will protect me and good people are going to bring me back. And that's exactly how the video says.
That's crazy.
Yes.
You have that recorded?
I do. Because he said it
a year ago?
A year ago.
Holy shit.
And so he because he said it, he mentioned it a couple times, but I got to record it that moment because he was very like stressed out.
Right.
So then in August or June, no, in like in June, around this year, June, my son starts walking around my house, speaking about the devil. Before that, it's just so many weird things that at 6-year-old shouldn't be going through. Like the dad.
Did you think it was being influenced by the dad? Did you think this was something was going on?
Absolutely.
You don't?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, because my son doesn't have a normal conversation. He's just very repetitive.
Okay.
So he'll come from his house repeating everything they said there.
Right.
I could go on and on about.
You had mentioned when we were talking earlier before we started the podcast something about religious approach to things. Did you know of this religion? Are you do they have a certain religious belief that you're aware of?
Yes.
And that is?
They were Seventh-day Adventists, but the story goes on and on because he even got kicked out of the church.
Okay.
He became paranoid. The church was conspiring against him, and the government was conspiring with the church, and everything was a conspiracy, and everybody was against him. Me, the teachers, the therapist, and everybody. He became that paranoid person. His dog died, and he did things like taking my son to see how the dog died, and then taking him to see how the dog excremated. And my son was traumatized by that. After that, I could never get him to sleep alone, you know? And then that...
Were you able... I apologize for cutting you off. Were you able to... Were you guys at least cordial enough? Where you asked them, hey, why are you doing this?
I sent
I appreciate if you don't,
yes,
talk to my son about this or show him this,
I did. I told him our job as parents is to prevent any trauma for our kids.
Right.
And this is so morbid. Can we not, please? What happened to the dog went to the farm, So yeah, he did that, and then my son kept walking into the house saying, and I don't want to call it crazy things, but he kept saying that his dad told him that before he was 7 or 8, he needed to go to heaven. So mine as a mother, I at that moment I lose my sanity. I call my lawyer. I'm desperate at this point because in my head
something's gonna happen.
That means that he's going to kill him before he's 7 or 8.
Right.
Because in his sick mind, using the religion in the wrong way, he's thinking that if my son meets the age of 8, he's gonna go to hell.
Right.
Because he becomes a sinner. And my son would say that after 8, you're a sinner. So my biggest fear was that, and my son is so innocent that he would just repeat that. So I called my lawyer, would make an emergency motion.
There's tissue there, hon, if you want it.
Thank you. We make an emergency motion. We tell the judge, hey, please help us. At that point, we had a guardian ad litem that I really wanted to see what was going on. She never spoke to this guy. But they threatened her to remove her, and they did a bunch of threats to her. So when we went to the court, she said, well, they're just very two different parents. I'm not sure about what the kid is saying. And then the court basically ruled it out as a hearsay, she say. I said, he or she?
Yeah, hearsay, yeah.
Hearsay. Hearsay, yeah. Sorry, my English sometimes.
Your English is perfect.
Hearsay shit.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah. So it was that.
So it wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough. It was the words of a 6-year-old autistic child that didn't have enough weight. And I would hate to be a judge because these people have to make decisions for other people that you never know. Look at what happened. You never know. I mean, as a judge, they have to make sure that they're fair enough so that the kid has both parents in their lives.
So,
and I get it.
So this was August-ish, right?
That was in June.
June. Okay.
After that, he gets ordered a psychiatric evaluation. I volunteer one so that he will be more forced to do one. Because I'm at this point I'm thinking this is crazy. They're having this kind of devil convert, the devil this, the devil that. That music is garbage, is from the devil. That person looks at the devil. It's unacceptable. This is a 6-year-old. We don't talk about the devil. We don't. It's all shit and giggles basically in my house.
Right.
That's all we talk about. And well, that I go to pick him up. He doesn't have overnights. I go to pick him up on August 27. Every time that I picked him up from that little fence where because I had a stay away order from him, protecting me from him, from another incident that we had. It's been a battle. And he every night that I went to pick him up in that white fence that his mom will bring him, every day that 5 minutes will pass by, I will have a knot in my stomach. It's like my mother instinct knowing something it's not right, something is going to happen. I go August 27. I'm there at 9 o'clock. At 9:10, I knew they took him. I call my mom crying, desperate. And she's like, it's only 9:10, calm down. I'm like, they took him. I just know that they took him. They finally did it. They wanted to break me down, and they finally broke me. Because they've done many other things to basically try to ruin my life. It didn't work out.
Energy, focus, weight loss, recovery. All the things that you need to be able to live a very healthy and productive life. But what if we could be able to offer you all of these things in the comfort and convenience of your home? Flawless Mobile Wellness is the company that would be able to make all of those dreams come true. With enough energy and focus, all of your dreams will become a reality. We are here to serve.
For them.
And you say they because moms is very invested in helping with all this.
It was them too. They isolated absolutely everybody, including their own family members.
Is his dad anywhere around?
His dad is married. He has another family. They isolated him too. They just became them too, because nobody will advocate for the nonsense that will come out of their mouth, including her ex-boyfriend who was living with them too. He even told the police that George would just lock himself in a room and watch videos about the devil and how about the world was gonna end, and all these things. And
I mean, he was really going off the deep end.
Yes, this was why it was so. To me, this was a race against time. Yeah, because to me, we had to find him before he was 7 or 8.
Right.
I talked to Carrillo about this. My son was on a sentence. He was sentenced to basically.
Yeah, when somebody's ill like that, assuming that he's having psychological issues and connecting it to religious beliefs and then getting deeper and deeper into it, you have to worry about something like that when people are that deep about that type of stuff. So that's scary.
I hate that it might sound like we're blaming religion, and we're not.
Right? No.
Because let me tell you, we went to church, the same church, and the church wasn't even surprised that he did that. The pastor said it. He's like, listen, we couldn't even handle him here. It was just too much, and I hate that some people can use religion in such a sick way, because religion is not a bad thing. It's I don't know, it's spirituality, all these things, these are good.
Right.
It keeps your mind sound. But yeah.
Well, I mean, so you realized that he was gone.
Yeah. I realized he was gone. I called the cops come, because it was his dad who took him. They basically told me to calm down. He's with his dad. You need to calm down.
Needs to be 24 hours or 48 hours, right?
I think it's a 6-year-old. Should be 1 hour. I mean,
right.
Should be 48 seconds.
Yeah.
If it's your turn to get him at that point, if he's not passing to you, I would imagine that becomes a crime. He's supposed to give him to you.
And then I'm showing them the orders of that he doesn't have overnights. I get my lawyer on the phone explaining to them that this guy is sick, and they were just. We have to do what we have to do. Protocols are protocol. Policies are policies. Go home. He's with his dad. I go home, of course. I honestly, I thought I wasn't gonna make it in the morning. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna go over the night. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have a child, but I can only imagine. I definitely, I'm surrounded by people with children. Joe, you have I think 3 daughters, 4.
3 daughters and 5 grandkids.
6
now.
I think every
Coach Joe, call him Grandpa Joe.
Looking like a little grandpa, but in great shape.
Well, that's probably why he does it.
But the last thing, the biggest fear for any parent, from my understanding, is to lose their child, obviously, and that's just something no one ever wants to imagine. I remember I was talking to my mom about this over breakfast, that we were going to have this podcast, and we started talking about your situation, and she just started thinking, my God, imagine if that happened to, and she mentions my niece, And within 5 seconds, just of her thinking about it, she was just thinking about it. She got quiet, started crying.
Yeah.
And this connection that you have. For one, if you love children, you know that they're the last bit of innocence that we have as humans. Because of all the bullshit that we're surrounded by. But also, as a parent, there's just that immediate connection that you never want to feel that your kid's at a jeopardy of being hurt or if you've never seen them again,
No, every second you don't see them, you're worried about them. That's the thing about becoming a parent. Like he's in school and I'm constantly thinking, what is he doing? Is he writing mad? Is it like it's a constant. There's such an emotional connection with your child. And I don't wanna lower it for the dad, but moms have such a special connection, with their kids, and it's just. I felt honestly like something was physically ripped from my chest.
Okay, so then through this process, when was it that Joe? First of all, you mentioned how difficult. Well, maybe not. Yeah, you mentioned how difficult it is to be a judge, and when they got to make these decisions, and then I guess the whole system. Too often, Joe, you've been working with the system, against the system, whatever. The system. A typical saying is, the system's fucked up. System's fucked up. Whatever it is, court system, prison system, jail system, system's fucked up. Some work, some don't. Some have pros. There's a lot of cons. It's a very difficult situation to figure out. When do you push or pull enough? Who has, back in the days, Yanni, and I used to be very against it. Back in the days, women, a guy would never get 50-50. Never get 50-50. I don't care how good, how honest, how much money you make, not happening. The mom's the mom. She's going to get majority custody, so on and so forth. I used to think that was very unfair. I'm glad they changed that. But it's a great example of it takes time to figure out these systems, right? How do we keep adjusting it? What is it that needs to be done so it's a little bit more fair, Now a guy, a father, if he wants 50-50, if he holds his own, he's not doing drugs, he's not a criminal, he makes enough money, and he sticks to what he's supposed to, then he deserves 50-50. It should be like that. Even though your point is super valid, that there's nothing like the bond between a mother and her child. A father, no matter how great of a father he is, he never bore the child. He didn't have that child in his stomach for 9 months and all the feelings and emotions and all that. That's just something that we don't know. We really don't know what that's like, So, but the system does have to change a little bit. Do you feel, and then we'll come to you, Joe, do you feel like the system has kind of let you down? Do you feel like there's so many things the system could have done better? And if so, do you remember a specific thing where it's like, well, this could have been done differently and maybe we wouldn't have been here? Or is it just, you don't know yourself?
Listen, I tried it all, and I just feel like the system could have pushed him to co-parent more, forced him to co-parent. The guy didn't talk to me for 2 years. I'm co-parenting with somebody who didn't talk to me at all. I'm co-parenting with somebody who's not allowing his son to have therapy for his autism, but he's never been on a neurologist appointment. He asked for a second opinion, and I had to take him to a neurologist and find the neurologist because he wouldn't. The system needed to push him harder to co-parent because I wanted 50-50. I wanted my sons to have a dad and a present dad. Not just...
So how could they have done that?
I
Send
think,
somebody there more?
Yes,
somebody more
absolutely.
proactive who's actually talking to him,
Yes.
meeting him, putting that pressure on? Things
Because
of that
every
nature?
time that they send somebody, he wouldn't talk to anybody and send them to his lawyer. Absolutely not. You need to talk. You need to talk to the people who knows your child. You need to be involved. He was even ordered to talk to the therapist. In a court order that he needed to reach out to the therapist so that he could get familiar with them. In a court order, what do you think happened when he didn't?
Another court date set, pretty much.
That's it.
Yeah, follow-up
That's
court
it.
date, yeah.
It was longing and more and
Yeah.
issues and money. I can tell you I've spent at least $40,000.
Shit, man.
Yeah, on this. Not on but
Right.
on through the divorce, through this custody battle. Why am I going to court to beg the judge to let me put my son in school? Because this guy didn't want him in school. Why am I begging for that? Doesn't that tell you there's something wrong with this guy that doesn't let his son go to school? An autistic child that needs routine, that needs
Right.
friends, that
Right.
needs all of that. Doesn't let me put him on sports. Why can he not do sports?
Right.
He just didn't want him around anybody. He wanted his son in a bubble, isolated from the world, where he couldn't get along with anybody, like him and like his mom.
And it's so difficult to prove that until somebody gets more involved.
I try.
You know?
I mean, but as a court, why is a mom begging court to let me go to Disney with my son because his dad doesn't approve, because Disney is from the devil and it doesn't align with his religion.
Damn.
That was an easy court day, I tell you why. Because I showed them pictures with him in Disney. I was like, yeah, it wasn't from the devil when I paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's from the devil. That was the end of the conversation. Oh, no, yeah, you can go to Disney.
So how much longer after you reported it and the police officers were telling you, hey, you got to wait, he's with his dad. But when did it finally get to the next level of like, can we consider this a kidnapping? Can we consider this some type of, illegal
I mean,
act?
I think it should have been the same night because I have a court order saying that he doesn't have overnights. There is an empty apartment, and there is no sign of the car. And nobody knows anything, and their phones were off. Both of their phones were off. But I understand. I am the kind of person that will never blame anybody for anything. I don't blame the system. I don't blame the court. He was going to take it, and he took him. It doesn't matter if I had full custody. He would have taken him, and he took him. That was his plan. The sole person responsible for this is them.
How did Joe pop into this? At what point did you get the lead or get the suggestion? Or
no, since the beginning. Since day one, I have a very good friend support. Joe met them. They are bad bitches.
That's awesome.
We are six bad bitches.
They're all little like her.
They're all
bad.
4'11", but
bunch
we
of
don't
little
reach
chief
5
butts.
feet. But oh yeah, you tackle that. You call Joe Carrillo. You call George Del Rio.
That's
like,
awesome.
It was, and I'm just there like crying. I can't handle it, and they're all there like But yeah, 2 days after, the court grants me full custody and an order for breakaway, so the police gets more involved. Now we're having a missing person. Now he gets reported as a missing person. I had approached Joe Carrillo since the beginning. I don't even know how many messages I sent. I think I even talked to Shay. One to you, but I sent messages to everybody. I mean, I must have even, texted Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, I didn't care at this point. It was hey, my son is missing. My son is missing. My son is missing.
Yeah.
And he finally reached out back. He wanted to wait because there was a lot of action from the police at this point, and they were following a very good lead. So he didn't want to take credit for that. He wanted to make sure this lead didn't prove to be anything, and then he was gonna get involved. And that was day what? 8, 9?
Day 8 or 9.
8 or 9. Day 8 or 9. Yeah.
About a weekend, a little bit more than a weekend.
So how'd you feel going into it, Joe? Like, what was your initial? I mean, I know you probably have some type of protocol, or maybe every situation is different. How'd you feel going into this? What was the process?
Well, I don't like these parental kidnappings.
By the way, if everybody listening hears a bunch of boom, 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 Joe's phone is just going off the fucking chain right now. The guy is just wanted by a lot of people to do a lot of great
by
things.
The police too.
Yeah, good and bad. They want him. They want Joe, but
Janet, I got a message from Instagram, very short. Please help me find my son. But these parental cases, a lot of times, are made up. So I didn't respond right away because I knew a lot of people were going to be calling her, like the other detectives that called you that got canned right away. Because this brings people. So I waited, but during those 3, 4, 5 days, it got called by a few people from the media if I'd been working it, and I said no. And I explained why. I got a call from a friend of hers, a close friend of hers that I know very well. And on the second call, she says, listen, you need to call her. I said, okay, tell her to call me. I get accused all the time of jumping into cases, and I don't jump into cases. I'm sitting in my house watching TV when I get a phone call from her. And I do that very specifically because of the things I've been accused of in the past by law enforcement. So she calls me, and I said, I'll see you tomorrow. So, you start to think, because when you go and you tell a mother that you're going to find your kid, you got to do that. You cannot find. You can't do what a police officer does and says, "Don't worry, ma'am, she's fine. She just ran away, and he'll come home." You can't do that.
Does
You
it
know,
does it hit you really hard once you
Oh yeah.
make that commitment? Like I can only imagine you've been doing this for so long, and you know the joy it brings to somebody. Once you say, "All right, I'm in," is it like that's it? Fucking guns blazing. I'm not
Oh.
stopping until this happens.
Of course. I mean, when you tell a mother that you're going to bring home her kid, you damn better well do it. Because if you fail once, it don't matter how many you brought home. They're going to talk crap about
Exactly.
you. Kingdom Come.
Unfortunately.
When you get to a situation like this, that you know you're not looking for a runaway, and you're not chasing a kid. I chase kids. You're chasing a criminal
Right.
who's going to murder his child, because he was going to murder his child. So when you sit with her and you tell her that you're going to do something, damn right it weighs. I can never say I feel like her,
Right.
but I had 55 sleepless nights. She had 60 something. You know,
Right.
when you wake up at 2 a.m. to take your dog out to go to the bathroom, you can't go to sleep for 2 hours because you think, what didn't I do today that I
Exactly.
can do tomorrow? So yeah, I went to see Janet and I found her destroyed, worst I've ever seen. And I told her that day, I said, listen, no matter what anybody else has told you, we won't leave you. And it's not me. I went with somebody who actually broke this open. And so I said, I want you to please call the detective and tell him I'm in the case, because I've had my.
With other detectives and stuff in the past.
And with the lieutenant handling this case, I had dealt with him, a very decent person, was very decent this time. He asked us to stand down, because they were waiting for something to happen that I didn't believe was going to happen because of the situation, but they believed it may. So we stood down. In the meantime, we interviewed some people that helped her. They lied to us. We obtained information and passed it to the police that they didn't obtain from those people. We approach people a little differently, even if you're a bad guy. I've dealt with many I'd rather deal with a bad guy any day looking for a child than a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
So we gathered some information. Once the detective gave us the go-ahead, we sent George Del Rio, who broke this wide open. Now we're 30 days in. So at 30 days, we stood down for 20 days. So at 30 days, we dispatch him to Maine. He goes up to the car that they abandoned, and nobody from Miami-Dade had been up there to look anything in the car. And I believe the stuff that we saw in the car is what it ultimately solved this case, and I'll tell you how. So we went up there. We're given access to the car, saw everything he'd left behind. They went up 95, and made a left off 95 where it hits Canada. Parked the truck, stayed in the woods one night, and then I believe they crossed into Canada. Everybody in Maine here believed they couldn't have made it across the terrain. It was very marshy, very swampy, very cold, a lot of bears.
Did they put an APB on him at that point?
At that point, yeah. At that point, he was wanted at that point. But there was no, look, when you're chasing somebody, you need to go chase somebody. Mm-hmm. And where you start to chase that somebody is from where they were last seen, and that was in Maine. We were the first ones in Maine. There were reasons for that. So
how was he seen in Maine? Was this camera?
No. What he did,
was it the store? The store that he visited, right?
No, they found the car
way before.
Oh.
He had a rental car that was rented by a guy who drove him.
that he paid to drive him to Maine, but the guy freaked out.
He abandoned the thing, and the cops got him, and then we got him, got information, and passed it.
Okay.
And so what he did is that wasn't his original plan. His plan started to go south right away with a whole year's planning. His driver wigged out after 13 hours on the road. So his plan, I knew his plan wasn't.
He said
good.
that he was scared of the mom.
Yeah, the mom is the scary one here. So
I can't wait to get to her.
So
to be
what
honest
happened
with you.
was the forest rangers. He left the 27th. On the 29th of August, the forest rangers find this rental vehicle from Miami-Dade, and then they go into the woods and they find there's more stuff in the woods, and they call Miami, and they say, we have this car here, we have these alerts, and happened or didn't happen with Miami for 30 days. Now we're in Maine, and as an investigator, when I'm getting Everybody from here was telling me, the FBI was telling me they didn't cross into Canada. They couldn't make it through there. They could be in Maine. Well, how do we figure that out? An angel came out of the sky named Jennifer Dorman. And she is an investigator at the border of Maine, an hour and a half away from Holton, Maine. And she had some very special dogs which could work scents, and they work cold cases. They can pick up a scent that's months old.
You hit it hard, you work out hard, but do you recover as hard as your exercises? Recovery is the number one thing that keeps most athletes from reaching the next level. Here at Flawless Mobile Wellness, we want to help you become the animal, the champion, the winner that you are. Recover right. Recover with Flawless Mobile Wellness.
Was she a PI or she worked for the department?
She's a PI. She's
Okay.
a private eye. She's an ex-law enforcement officer. She retired just to do this. So she offers us the help with the dogs. So I get the blessing from the police department, and we do a search with this. I'm Janet's house, and while we're having this conversation, and I said, we need to create some scent pads. So she gave me one of JoJo's shoes, the cover for his car seat from her car, and some toys. And we overnighted them. And the dog was able to determine that they, in fact, did cross into Canada. So between us, we went back 2 days later with the same dog without the police and let the dog run into Canada to get direction. So the dog ran several hundred yards into Canada. I hope they don't come arrest me now.
Wow.
The dog.
And told us that they went into Canada and they made it through the marsh into the open field. So we were able to tell all these people that we're trying to figure out where'd he go. They're in Canada. So now we have information.
And these dogs really came through. That's awesome.
Not only that, but here's where I believe he was found. We followed the bread and not money, the kind you eat. In the car, the stuff he left behind, among all other things, was this bread. And I'd never seen the bread. It's called Ezekiel bread.
Yeah. Supposed to be one of the healthiest bread.
I'd never seen it.
Yeah.
So we chase people by getting into their head and figuring out where they're going. We had information that they going off the grid to live by windmills. Now we know they're in Canada. And now we know he has this bread. This bread is so important to him. He's taking it through the woods with him. So I said, where do they sell this bread? In Canada. One place, Walmart. So we start as investigators contacting Walmart's, pizza. He couldn't live without pizza shops. We knew he needed to buy stuff for off the grid. So we started calling off the grid and we started putting out nets and getting calls. We don't know if our investigator talked to that Walmart because we were in a city that was not
But you're
quite-
relaying the message to them? You're kind of trying to help them out?
Well,
The others that are trying to work on the case? Or did you guys just go gung-ho on your own at this
Well,
point?
no, everything that we're doing, we're reporting real time to Miami-Dade and to the
Yes.
FBI.
It was the whole everybody.
We made an agreement.
Yeah,
that,
everybody
guys,
was on it.
We want to help. We can't. Listen.
Do it by ourselves.
If we find JoJo, all we can do is sit there and call somebody. So,
Right.
we know. Listen, we don't have protocol. We understand the protocol that Miami-Dade has to get on a plane to go somewhere. We understand that the Canadians weren't letting us, the FBI, or Miami-Dade in. And they weren't believing it was a kidnapping.
Kidnapping, right.
Once they believed there was a kidnapping, and the media alerts went out within a week,
Yeah.
he was caught.
No, we also had the Canadian Missing Children Center. I mean, I have sat down and I drove
Amazing.
everybody crazy. I'm emailing every news station that I know in every little place that has a windmill, and I'm calling Alaska. I'm calling Alaska and putting alerts in Alaska because he was a big fan of Dexter, and I'm like, he's going for Alaska.
On you.
No, not only that, he carried
And,
a Dexter bag at all times.
A Dexter bag, yeah.
At all
yeah.
times.
God damn.
Con un bate,
A lot,
a
hasn't
gun.
come out.
There is some more to the story, but
Wow.
yeah. So the Canadian Mission Children also they reached out to me. I spoke to a few of the news, and I haven't stopped calling. I can't even tell you how many phone calls a day I've done. because that's the only thing I can do as a parent. And that's what I tell people: don't stop, don't become the terror of everybody. Call everybody every day. Hey, and me and my friends are persistent. Let's just call it that way. They're very persistent. So the Canadian Mission Children was also helping us put posters in pizza places, in parks, and I think in pet shops too, because they took 2 cats, but they let them go in the woods.
In the trails that hiking trails, the hiking trail clubs.
Right.
But a lot of the public was not believing us because the Canadians didn't let the Amber Alert go out yet. They resisted. They resisted, and we had some contacts there. At the end, they solved the case. They responded right away.
Did,
We're not talking bad. We're just saying there's too much protocol.
What was the next level of breakthrough that happened that allowed them to catch him, find them?
The media blitz. We pointed the investigation in the right direction, but the path was very slow. Because you're not dealing with a city like Miami that connects with a city like Hollywood that connects with a city. You're dealing with the woods.
Yeah.
We couldn't call our investigator half the time because our phone didn't work.
No service at all.
Wow,
So once we determined that we are headed in the right direction, and then we decided to do the media blitz.
Yeah.
In Canada. In that zone, and that initially is what alerted the public, but we were holding that back until we had enough information to know where to go, because we didn't know what help he had. He did have help with members of that church. We are hearing that he had bought a cabin, so he had somebody meet him on the other side. So it was, that's the way it happened.
What was the? I guess everything is still up in the air, kind of like the whole innocent until proven guilty type ordeal. But what was the involvement of the mom? I know that just to update everybody listening and watching, we were supposed to do the podcast today, obviously, right? You almost canceled on me. Joe hit me up yesterday morning, if I'm not mistaken, early morning. I woke up to his text.
Don't blame it on her.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay.
I'm still cute.
I woke up to his text and I'm like, fuck, dude. And I read, hey Wes, sorry, but we're not gonna be able to do the podcast tomorrow. It was just something popped up, blah, 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 blah. So we left it alone. But then he said, I just sent him the sad face, and I can't put no pressure on him. This is a very touchy subject, and so on and so forth. But he sent me a voice message, and you can back it up. He says, well, correct me if I'm wrong, the mom is supposed to bond out, and that was kind of freaking you out that she was going to bond out because you were unaware of whatever rights she might have or what she might do, retaliation. I'm not sure what it is. Elaborate a little bit on that if you don't mind.
Well, I was going to be today in court begging for a restraining order. That's why we were going to cancel, because I thought she was going to get out on bond, because it's one of the rights according to the charges they're pressing, which are a little weak. But the state attorney, thank God, Carrillo calls me. I'm not getting, this is where, not to blame anybody. There is a reason to the madness here. A purpose to the reason, everything, all of the above. But Carrillo calls me in the morning to tell me, hey, did you know the mom is getting a bond hearing? And I'm like, I'm thinking he's talking to me about a case that I'm helping him with.
Hey, she's already brought us.
I'm like, okay, what a crazy family, huh? And he's like, the mom is getting bond. I'm like, oh, what mom you're talking about? It's like, the mom of George. And I'm like, and I start freaking out. I'm like, how come nobody calls me? How come? Why are you calling me about this and nobody else? I call the cops. I call the FBI. I call everybody and their mom. I'm like, why am I not knowing this? And I start freaking out. I'm like, what if this lady comes and kills me? What if this lady shows up to my son's school? What's going to happen? What I didn't know later on is that the state attorney was pressing for upgrading to kidnapping rather than custodial interference. So I think the plan is to upgrade that charge, and the judge was not going to give her a bond. So I don't know why I wasn't aware, but listen, she stuck out for us, and hey, and thank you so much, because she was nice. Very strong. She was very strong in court about this was a kidnapping, not a custodial interference. And Palmer, one of the detectives from the Miami Special Victim Unit, went and testified as well. So the case was strong. At this point, I don't even care about not knowing.
So I'm sitting in my house yesterday, kind of thinking about coming here today, what we're going to do, and I
Right.
get a phone call at 8:35 in the morning from a news reporter, a veteran news reporter. She goes, "Hey, you know anything about a bond hearing this morning for JoJo's grandmother?" I said, "What?" I said, "No." I said, "I don't think Mom knows because I talked to her the night before and she was out with JoJo. I think JoJo had a date or something.
Yeah, I
she
took
sent
him
me
on a date.
picture, with one of his friends." I says, "But let me call Mom." So I call Mom. At first I got up and I looked on the computer and hell yeah, she's got a bond hearing. It's a $15,000 bond. So I call Mom and I go, "Do you know anything about this?" Immediately she lost it and got worse. Not only did she not know, the police department did not know there was a hearing. This is a black sheep. We can talk a little bit.
Yeah,
here.
I don't know. I'm scared.
No, I'm not listening. No. So the police department didn't know. So she sends a text to the detective, a not so nice text, and
Yeah, I had a few bad words.
but let me give you the back history of why, and it's not their fault. And I'll tell you who the bad guy is. There came a point where the feds got involved in this, and they needed to because they not only left the state, they left the country. So there was a little bit of a back and forth between the FBI and the U.S. Marshals on who would get to go and find JoJo. And the FBI won. They won, and they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, absolutely.
But guess who had to go pick up Grandma? And guess who had to go pick up Father? The Marshals. And the Marshals were pissed. So they didn't advise anybody, including the
I
police
didn't know
department.
this.
No,
I'm hearing now.
I know this.
Yeah.
Okay. I know this. So to get back at everybody, they just brought them, did their job, and didn't tell anybody. But let me tell you how serious that move was. If Detective Palmer would not have sat there and testified yesterday to what he testified, that lady would be home, and so would be her husband on bond.
I would die.
That's my opinion. The fact that the mother reached out to the state attorney, who has not called her back yet, her attorney, is what made everything jump yesterday. And that's the failure of the system. I'm not blaming anybody.
No, they did a good
It's
job.
just-
I will
They
not.
did listen. I'm not one to talk good about law enforcement. They did a wonderful job on this case. Cooperating, open lines of communication, talking to Mom, understanding. FBI, as much as Miami-Dade, as everybody. Everybody did their part, which is what's necessary to bring home children.
Bueno, qué bueno que all combined efforts made this happen. We obviously know there's a lot of, there's pros and cons, obviously. And we know that the system is not perfect. It's not broken, but it's not perfect. There's a lot can be done. You've been working with a lot of people, Joe, and I want to come back to that. But Yannick, all in all, I'm not a godly person. I'm not a religious person, but I'm all about positivity and great vibes and projecting all the right things. And thank goodness, thank whoever you want, thank the universe that JoJo, that's his name, right?
Yep.
That JoJo's back and with you. I saw the videos of the initial return from the airport, and I know you were trying to stay calm because you didn't want him to overreact and whatnot. You handled that pretty well. And then I think the next day the kid party was on a Saturday. He came back on a Thursday?
No, he came back on it was October 31st. It was on Halloween.
He came back on a
October
Tuesday. So
On Tuesday.
the 31st was Sunday, the 2nd.
Okay.
They found him on the 30th, and then he came on the 2nd. So it has been a blur of days.
Well, just to get it out of the way, because nothing, until things get more decisive. What were the charges, the final charges on the dad and the mom?
I think it was custodial interference and taking a minor illegally out of the state. But they're upgrading and bringing up more charges now as they're finding things that he had a gun in Canada too. And they found letters of them saying, basically saying their intent of never coming back.
There's also a 2020 case, which is probably your restraining order.
Yeah, it's my
that they're
understanding.
reopening
Oh, they are?
because what he did in this case
Yeah.
it violated the
Why?
conditions of that,
Mm-hmm.
and those are like very strong gun charges too. I think there may have been a gun involved.
The thing is that he was trying to basically slam his car against my golf cart.
Yes.
And it's considered a deadly weapon. So the deadly weapon was his car.
So they're charging them now in the 2020 case for something with a deadly weapon. I read in the docket. So yeah, he's going to have some strict issues, some strong issues.
And are you feeling confident that? I mean, I don't know. Where does this go? Do you think he still gets rights of any sorts to see the kid? You don't know.
I'm not ready for that.
Right.
My son is not ready for that. I asked my son.
Is it going to become a civil matter in order to make that happen?
I don't know how that will be, but unless I have 100% guarantee by everybody that my son will be safe, and even so, I'm gonna be with my heart, my hand, like we're gonna be so uncomfortable,
right? Because I would imagine he has to get cleared by a therapist, psychologist, so on and so forth. Probably has to have supervision whenever your kid is in. If and when this happens, there has to be somebody there supervising. All those things. But nonetheless, Yanni, really appreciate you sharing that story with us. And I hope that other parents out there, it's not just mothers, but other parents out there.
We're helping a father now.
Right, and I want to get to that, but you voicing everything and telling us, this difficult situation. I hope that it helps other people out there who might be in this situation. Like, never give up. Give your best efforts. Let them know that you're the most caring parent versus sitting back and letting the system, handle things, because no one's going to give the efforts that you give for something that's yours. Exactly. So again, thank goodness that. And shout out to your homegirls, that whole group of fucking locas, good.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to them, and it's great
we
that
should get a special T-shirt. We all have superpowers. I'm the too nice one, but we have,
That's good, but it's great to have friends like that and caring people, much less caring females, whether they're mothers or not, who helped you the way they did and got you guys connected, and and everything has come full circle. And Joe, again, man, you've been doing amazing things for so long, dude. That this is not an easy task for you to do, as well as you got to make your money on the regular PI tip, but your heart, you can see you got a little emotional talking about bringing home somebody's kids. You've been doing this for so long, dude. What is it that's making all these kids leave, man? We spoke about this on our first when we had that luncheon a while ago, and I remember you said that a lot of these are runaways. Majority of them are runaways, if anything. And I know every story is different, but are you seeing a trend here where, I don't want to blame parents, but are parents doing something wrong? Is there something that you can give advice? Again, it's general advice. Every situation is different, but is there something that you can tell these parents? Because, hey, I'm on the opposite end of finding these kids. And the common sense is, again, it's all varies, but the common sense is something at home was occurring and it pushed the kid away. I'm just jumping the gun. What's some type of advice you can give these parents? Because it's a scary situation, and hers was completely different. But I know that I've said this before when I had a good close friend of mine, Kendra Geronimo. We talked about her, the one who was unfortunately got sexually trafficked. We were talking about the kidnappings of child trafficking, sex trafficking, and all that. The U.S. is number 2 in the world. Out of being number 2 in the world, in the U.S., the 3 states that are number 1, the top 3 states are Florida, and I forgot the other 2. And then in Florida, the top 3 cities that are number 1 are Tampa, Miami, and I think Orlando. They just had that huge sting operation with the fucking Disney World and all these employees. Like, it's absolutely bananas. What is something, because, sometimes as parents, they might be too tough. They might be too lenient. They might be too carried away in their new relationship. There's so many variables. You've been doing this for so long. It doesn't have to be a counselor or a therapist. You're all that in one because you've been doing this shit, And just like me, I'm a personal trainer and a mixed martial arts coach, but I just had a student of mine who's a fighter who was crying to me 2 days ago about relationship issues. We become therapists as well. We become, support systems as well. It's not all about training. I know you've become that in so many different ways. give some advice to people out there listening in regards to, how can we try to bring down the count of how many kids are leaving their house where your job is becoming so important?
First of all, the kids have taught me what I'm going to tell you now, because I didn't always think this way. I've never faulted a runaway for running away from their house, because they always have a reason to do it. Whether it's a valid reason or not, it's a valid reason to them. And you as a parent or guardian have to take the time to listen to their valid reason. And that doesn't happen today. And it got worse and worse and worse and worse with the cell phones, because everybody's too busy. The cell phone is the worst drug in the world.
Say it again.
I'm a recovering addict, 40 years next year.
Congratulations.
Fucked up on the worst drugs. The cell phone is the worst drug invented on God's green earth. I'm addicted. You're addicted. Everybody's addicted to it.
Absolutely.
When you take that cell phone, this is the biggest mistake the parents make, is the communication that child has with his friends from his own bedroom. Okay? He's addicted. She's addicted to that conversation with the friend at night. If you take that away, the only place you can get that is in the street. And when that child is in the street, as a runaway, is when they get picked up by the trafficker. We're the number 3 city in the country for human trafficking. And we have a very weak prosecution of human traffickers here. Yeah, you see one in the news, you see one here. I can tell you the state attorney is not allowed to participate in the Super Bowl human trafficking operations. And I'll stop there. Okay? And I'll stop there. But I would say take the time to listen to your kids. Never take away their cell phone. You can find kids with cell phones. Don't take away their drug you addicted them to. And our success, we don't go out, find a kid, put them in our car and bring them home because they're minors. Our success is getting a message to that child through their friends that, hey, somebody's here to stick up for you. And we do. And I've had more problems with parents than I've ever had with a kid that I went to chase. There are no bad kids. People say that kids on drugs are bad kids. Kids on drugs are sick kids. They're bad because they're sick. Gay kids that parents couldn't accept that they were gay, and parents used to beat them and throw them out of their houses, And so that's the kind of situation we find. So we're always on the side of the child. Always.
Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to have more focus? Are you looking to boost your immune system? Or are you an athlete that is in pain and needs to recover to continue to crush your goals? Well, here at Flawless Mobile Wellness, we can help you out with every single one of those through the use of our vitamin infusions. Our preventative health services are as easy as calling us up, and we show up. Here at Flawless Mobile Wellness, your home is our office. Stay healthy with Flawless.
You've just to name a few things, you've helped bring down strip clubs.
Yes.
That were harvesting.
Well, close. You don't bring down a strip club because that's a mafia. You close it temporarily.
Yeah. You help expose minors who were being brought into strip, whether they were looking the other way or whether they were forced to. You've helped expose, rings of people who were involved in all kind of corruption, and you've grown a name for yourself, Joe. You really have. Actually, before we started the podcast, we know what we were talking about on a personally connected level with our friends. It's got to be a tough job for you, but you do it with pride, and I commend you for it. And I think it's great. What is it that people can do to help you out with this? We have this, which I love this banner behind you, and I love that we're rocking it. We have this banner, BTHP, One Child, One Life, bringing them home project. How can people help you out with that, and what is it they can do, donate, and things of that nature?
The biggest problem we have is that we're self-funded. We do accept donations. Janet gave us a balance of her GoFundMe. But they're really not enough to really cover the costs that we do.
Right.
So if people could donate any amount, for example, Janet got us a case that we're doing up in Satellite Beach tonight. We don't charge a fee for the work we do, but if we can pay for the gas, the food, the hotel, that's the kind of stuff. The investigators don't charge an hourly fee, but we'd like to raise money to pay our expenses. You know, the databases we use, the surveillances we do. I have a guy that we're probably sending from Alachua down to Kissimmee tonight. At least send him a few $100 for his gas. So if you could donate to us, and you can donate right on the page, bringingthemhome.com or through GoFundMe, however you want. That goes to just saving kids. We don't make a living off that.
And you still are doing private eye work as well.
I got to eat, got to pay for my bills.
Right.
Yeah. I do private eye work every day of my life.
So if anybody want a top-notch PI, we obviously reach out to you on that tip too.
Thank you.
And Jan, is there anything you want to say to people out there, the mothers, the parents, the people listening, any way they can help or anything you want to advise them on?
I just wanted to thank everybody. And this is one of those cases where the media has been so magic to us, and everybody has been touched by it and everybody has shared. And I think it was what we were talking about. This has been an everybody's effort. And like you were saying, the donation's not from me. This is the GoFundMe. This is the people. I'm not going to keep people's money.
Right.
But honestly, and if anybody out there is going through the same thing that we went, don't lose hope. I lost hope many times.
Right.
I hit that black spot many times. But remain strong for your children. I always got up. And try harder. And we're here. I'm gonna leave my plan was, okay, after JoJo's home, I'm gonna close my media and I'm gonna get some peace. But I'm not. I'm gonna leave it open because we have a lot of followers and we can keep sharing about other parents. And
exactly.
And I'm gonna use it for that. And if anybody's going through that and can reach out to us, we're here.
And then with that said, what social media platform can people reach you at in case they don't go straight to Joe? Because sometimes you might have a woman who wants to speak to you directly and they might just want to talk to you about your situation. Really, this can go in so many different directions. But how can people reach you if that's something that you want to put out there publicly?
I have it's Janet with a .y because it's Janet with a Y.
So you put YANET, Janet with a dot and then the letter Y.
Yeah.
That's creative. You're literally explaining how to do it and it's in the name.
Yeah.
Okay, so Janet with it dot letter Y.
Yeah.
Janet with
a Y.
Janet with a Y. Okay, don't try to. That's a tongue twister right there.
I was asking, why did she pick that name? Now I know.
Yeah, you get it. Janet with a Y.
That is creative.
It is creative, right? You're telling people.
It's funny because one of my best friends, her name is Cindy, and hers is Cindy with an S. Same thing.
Yeah.
It's a bestie thing.
It's also.
I'm gonna do a Joe with a J.
No, because you can't spell it. Oh yeah, you can spell it with a Y.
No,
Joe.
No, don't be so Cuban. Come on now. Come on.
I'm not Cuban. I'm French Canadian.
That's right. We spoke about that. I forgot.
We almost found JoJo right where I was born.
Holy shit!
I
forgot. Yes, right. Because you got
was thinking about that.
Foster parents, right?
Adopted
parents.
Was given up at birth, adopted by Cubans, smuggled into Cuba. You know what day I was smuggled into Cuba and it just heard me? October 31st.
Oh, look at that!
Wow.
A lot of things came together from the universe for this case, and I believe in that, and I believe things come together for reasons that are unexplained, but a lot of things came together on this case, a case that was probably not supposed to be solved this way. Nobody believed JoJo was alive. Everybody that knew was telling me he wasn't. I'm
glad I didn't hear that because
I told you afterwards. I was told that as soon as the FBI came in, and it floored me. And my answer was, I can't work a case searching for a dead kid. The kid is alive, and we're going to find him. And then they told me, let's go find this child. But nobody believed it.
Well, I know we don't want to think about it no more, but it definitely could have went that route had you guys not unified your efforts.
It went the route that starting with the mother she pushed, because she pushed everybody.
Right.
She pushed me. So she gets the credit for that.
Joe, I can tell you right now ahead of time, I definitely want you to come back for another podcast. I know there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about because there's so many things that you've done and things that whether exposing or bringing things to attention and so on and so forth. But we'll have you back when the time is right. Your fucking phone has been going crazy the whole time we've been on. No, it's all good. You're a busy man, and it's for all the right reasons. So
trying to relax a bit. I'm getting old, man.
Yeah, man. I hear you on that. But guys,
good luck on that.
Yeah. Janet, wishing you the best. I know this is not done. I know there's still shit to go through. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You have to expect that. There's still some shit to go through, but you got your son back, and he's not going nowhere.
And he's so happy.
And that's awesome, and everybody's happy to hear that. So we're happy to hear that. Joe, you're the fucking man. You know, keep doing what you do. Can't wait to have you back. And guys, appreciate you being on the podcast. For you guys listening and watching, don't forget, visit blacksheepapparel.shop if you want to get your gear, your apparel, hats, shorts, shirts, you name it, everything. If you feel like, you know, you're somebody unique who stands apart from the crowd, go get your gear. If you think you're special, go get your gear. It's there. It speaks for you. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for all the support. Make sure you go to Bringing Them Home, the Bringing Them Home Project. Do what you can to help Joel out. Give to some donations, anything else, leads, contacts, hire him for a PI job. Tell Yannick how much, you know, we appreciate her telling her story. And we're wishing everybody else out there a lovely day, and can't wait for the next one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.